Hello there, and welcome to your Business Edge, Amplify Marketing for Small Businesses. I'm Susan Friesen with eVision Media, and I have a very special guest with me today. Pamela Chatry and I have known each other for many years, and I so admire her for her business acumen. And I asked her to join us and talk about the new year and new goals and new strategies and plans that will help you make more money in your business by taking a page out of Marie Kondo's organizing book. And so we are going to have a great discussion today about how can you plan out your new year and reference Marie a little bit about organizing and planning and decluttering and all that fun stuff. So Pamela is a strategic business advisor and planner and has been in the industry for many years. I'll get her to tell you all about that. So Pamela, I'll let you introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll dive into the how our audience can make more money in 2019.
Doesn't everybody want to make more money in 2019? I think if we were doing the forecasting for the year, I'd say let's all start out on a very optimistic note and say I am going to make more money this year. I think it's a good year to be doing that and a good time of the year. So thank you so much, Susan, for having me on your show this morning. I'm grateful to be here, and of course grateful for you. You and I have shared many experiences in business over the years, and I admire and respect the work that you do in an area that I have absolutely no abilities in. So I know you're the expert, and so thank you for the work you've done with my clients as well over the years.
My pleasure.
Grateful to be here this morning. I'm Pamela Chatry, and I have been working with small to mid-size growth businesses for many, many years. Usually businesses that are in some chaos or some they're growing quite rapidly, and they need to take a step back or steps back and regroup. They need to analyze what's working and where things are going very well, but they're usually in so much chaos that they've never been able to see that picture, to use the old expression, to see the forest for the trees. So we do assessment together. We start to review where we can perhaps fix things quickly, because we like to have reward quite quickly, all of us, and see some change. And then we will do some longer term fixing, and that means taking some real solid problems and working on those with teams, or even just sometimes the owner, and then implementing change. And that change is usually for the better. It's more revenue, it's more efficient, and therefore it creates more profit, which is what every business wants to have.
Stands to reason. Yes,
exactly. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So that's it's very rewarding work. Many of my clients go on to win awards, in the United States and Canada for top business growth, and proud of my clients and the efforts that they've put in to get to those award-winning places.
Fantastic. And so, this is obviously one of your specialties, of taking a business and helping them grow and expand and make more money. So when we first talked about doing this interview, if anybody's watching this later in the year, right now it's in January, and it just made sense to do what a business should be doing in the new year and kind of setting the stage for the rest of the year. And before we get any further, I want to warn you not to get too excited, because this is a riveting topic about policies and procedures. But we're going to make it fun for you, right?
Yeah, we are.
So Pamela, do you ever meet resistance or businesses who have never set up policies and procedures, have never kind of done that legwork that they should be doing in order to actually achieve the kind of business goals that they want to achieve?
It's more common than not, Susan. What happens with the true entrepreneurial spirit, and I'm sure your followers can relate to this, is we get caught up in the excitement and the passion of what I call the doing. You know, we have a product or service that perhaps all of a sudden catches on. You know, people are excited about it. We have more sales than we know what to do with. We see this all the time with shows like The Dragon's Den. Or do you remember Oprah, when Oprah used to endorse a show or a business, and all of a sudden that business could not keep up with the sales. This was their dream, and then it turned into their nightmare. And that's sort of the extreme of what happens with business. But it's not uncommon for the average entrepreneur, and I'm sure in your business you've seen this, where, you know, they'll launch without worrying about what has to happen. It's like putting up a new house. If you didn't put up the walls and solidify the walls and solidify those walls against the foundation, what would happen to the house? You know, so this is the analogy that I use with business, and it is so common for a business to get caught up and let's get the product out there, or the service, let's find the customers and make the sales, but not worry about how the business can support those sales.
Yeah, the lack of planning, and I do see it all the time, and you know, I'm probably guilty of it more often than not too.
We all are, believe me.
We're all in that responsive mode of just reacting in, you know, what's happening right now instead of looking forward. So what tips and can you share with our followers to help them not you know, run into this problem of being in a position where all of a sudden things are just crumbling all around them because of that lack of planning? You know, what strategies can you share with us?
Well, there's a couple of areas that are important to consider. I'm going to talk people the first. Many businesses start out with themselves and maybe their life partner involved in the business, or, you know, they've got their kids packing boxes for shipping because their online business is doing well. But the human resources area is absolutely vital, and we see this all the time where people are doing every job, every hat they're wearing, including, you know, the financial hat and the other things that keep the business on the rails. So the first area if your business is growing and it's growing rapidly, chances are you're going to need help. And chances are you're not good at a lot of those jobs. Not you in particular, of course, but
I'm great at everything.
There you go.
To Pamela, but this doesn't pertain to me.
We wear all of those hats because the business has demanded we wear all those hats. And I'm sure, you know I can relate to this, where I think, well, I can, you know, certainly pack all those boxes. Well, yes, you can, but is that the best use of your time? Is that the best use of your labor? And I always ask the owner, what is their hourly wage? And when they work out that they're working 80 hours a week and they do the math on the revenue, chances are they're earning, you know, $2 or $3 an hour. So it's really the human resources is the first place to start looking at. Where do you need support? Where do you need help that will free the owner up to do the jobs that are important to the company, to keep the company, the sales funnel growing, for example, the productivity of the company, so the operations. And once you start to analyze that, what we find is that the next step easily is just to do job descriptions. To do a job description of your own role as an owner in the company, but to also create job descriptions for the employees that you wish you had or that you currently have. Because one of the areas that's so important is to assess whether or not you're using people correctly. What are they great at? What are they passionate about? What do they love to do that you absolutely hate? So take your own roles, assess them, look at what the company needs to have on board, and then create job descriptions, and then create a hiring plan around those job descriptions. But also, one final piece there is your budgets. Know how much it's going to cost you.
Well, that was kind of where I was just going to ask. In the solo entrepreneur world, where they're still in the building phase and haven't quite gotten to that point of hiring, the most common feedback I receive from people when I suggest the same thing is, well, I have no money. I can't afford to hire somebody.
Right.
And so how do we get around that? How do we get around people who need the help? They need the help, especially in the marketing area too, in order to get more sales, in order to get more clients, but they don't have that, that money to be able to hire people to help. How do you advise people on that?
Well, I think the first area that we need to always look at is our financials. And this, I will say, is a weakness amongst many entrepreneurs, is that they do not understand their numbers.
Yeah.
They don't have a grasp on their expenses for the company, and the current grasp of what the company is looking like financially, but they also have not done a lot of projection thinking.
Right.
And in our numbers, they tell us the stories. So, for example, if we know where we are now, and if we look at them and we say, okay, well, I'm going to hire a contractor to do my shipping for me. And you know what that shipping number, that cost looks like. You can add that into your financials. And immediately you can look at your expenses and say, okay, I need to increase my revenue by X amount of money. So all of a sudden you have a picture of what you can afford. And it also, you can look at that revenue number, and it often will, you go, oh, well, it's not much more than what I'm earning now. If it's only going to cost me an extra $40 a week, I'm just using some examples here, I can make one sale and I've already paid for that person.
Right.
Because it frees me up as the owner to do more sales.
And I think that's a really important note, is that sometimes the entrepreneurs and small business owners, they look at things at a place of lack. I don't have this, I don't have that. Instead of looking at hiring a team of support as an investment in their business.
Yes.
And a means for them to offload what their non-core competency is, so that they can spend that time and work on their competency and the sales and building the business.
Exactly. Yeah.
There might be a bit of a time where things need to balance out, but if they look at it as an investment in their business, then it's a whole different perspective. Wouldn't you agree?
I would agree completely. Everything that we do should be an investment in our business. If we want that business to succeed and we understand where we're taking it, and there again we go back to the financials and what is the target numbers for the year. If you know those, then you can work to those numbers accordingly. I think the other thing that it's the passion and the vision for the business that we need to also, in our planning and getting excited for 2019, do we know what we want for our business this year? Are we excited about where we're going to take our company? And that goes into, that love and passion and the organizing of the business, segueing back to that. If we have a love for what we're doing and we're excited and we have those goals, I liken our business to deciding to take a trip to Europe, for example.
Yeah. If
you know that in 2020, in May, you're going to go to Europe, well, what are you going to look forward to for the next year and a half, right? And what are you going to work towards? It gives you incentive to save money. It gives you incentive to do different things differently, I guess. Right. So your business is the same. If you know what you want at the end of the year and you're getting excited and you want to take, a 3-week holiday in January, but your business needs to be organized so it doesn't stop, you've got a goal. You've got excitement.
Yeah. And you need to make the plan. You have to plan for that.
You need to make the plan. And so what systems do you need in place? Who do you need in place? And that's where you start to question your back of house.
So you were saying that one part of the factor of the planning is the people. And so what was the next part?
The next part is your finances. That's vitally important in part of your planning for getting your back of house in order is having a grasp on your finances. And I always maintain that an owner does not have to do those tasks. They do not have to do the bookkeeping. They do not have to have all of that on their desk. But what they do need to understand is that they need regular reporting. So part of that structure is getting a monthly report, having an accountant, for example, in place, or a bookkeeper in place who gives you a monthly accounting, a quarterly accounting, and understanding what your cash flow looks like, what your P&L looks like, and really having a grasp and tracking your numbers. That is a big part of planning, is tracking. What did we say we were going to do, and where are we now?
And what course correction do we need to make if we're not getting there?
Exactly, yes. And so you can be proactive but reactive at the same time. I know I have someone who shall not be named, but they always say, I hate dealing with the numbers, Pamela. I hate this part. And I always say, yes, I understand you hate dealing with this, but this is your reality. And once we work through that aversion through education and training, and that's not my specialty. I put this person onto someone who literally is a small business trainer in finances. And once they started to understand what they needed and what they needed to know, all of a sudden the hate for those numbers and for that task became something entirely different.
And we kind of referenced Marie Kondo earlier today, and this comes back to one of the things that Maria was talking about, is that when your mind is not cluttered up with the unknowns, and it's all making sense, even if it isn't your core competency, but that it's decluttered. I
think it also, as coming from an adult educational side background, we always say education and knowledge is power.
Right.
And then the other side to that is that if you stop learning, you stop earning.
True.
So part of good planning, and I think that's also what Maria is saying, is what do you need to know more of in your education? And if it's you're feeling cluttered, it sometimes is because there is a lack of understanding, or there's misunderstanding, or there's an emotional response to things that really are quite logical.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's vitally important that an owner in their planning process always understand to take that step back and say, what do I need more education in, or what do I need to know this year to help me grow this business? And also, let's take it to people. What if you have employees? I was reading the other day, I love this, that this woman who owns this very successful business gives her people a pot of money every year and says, spend this on something that will help you grow. Every one of her employees, she doesn't monitor it, she doesn't ask for a report, but she said, I want you to grow this year as a human being. And she's had people take cooking classes and people take bike riding and, all sorts of different things. But she feels that those skills have contributed to their organization and help her people stay passionate and excited. There's the Maria piece again, right? Yeah.
That's fantastic. I agree that, we do need to educate ourselves and have the knowledge that we need. One of the things that I see an overabundance of is in my world of the marketing.
Yes.
Where business owners and entrepreneurs feel that because they don't have any money, they have to learn how to do everything all themselves. What I say is that, they need to know what needs to be done and what those results should be, but do they really need to go and invest thousands and thousands of dollars and literally learn someone else's profession in order to save themselves money from not hiring somebody else to do that work? Do you find that?
I think it's you've addressed a very good point, and I think this overlaps certainly into all the different areas of the business. Again, I'm going to go back to the marketing plan, the planning of the marketing. Let's coin that term. Most business owners, if they are small and they're doing all of their work themselves, again, have not assessed results. They haven't tracked. We talk about financial tracking, and in marketing, and I know you know this, as I'm sure you preach this, is tracking results. Yeah. So if a business owner is unsure whether or not they should hire an outside company to do their marketing for them, let's take social marketing, all they would have to do is an exercise for, I would suggest, and you can probably clarify this number, anywhere from 1 to 3 months of, if they do it themselves, what are the results? Mm-hmm. If then hire someone like your company who are experts and say, let's do it for 3 months and track the results when Susan's company does it. Mm-hmm. And then make the decision at the end of that to see whether or not there's payback.
Yeah, the results would be in that way. So one thing that's a fantastic way of looking at it, and I love that, that solution, that plan. So how do they know how to do the social marketing first? Like, what I'm finding is that people are putting their business on hold and doing all of the learning first, getting all their ducks lined up in a row before they even begin with any marketing or promotion or thinking that they can start their business.
And is this a common approach? It is. Yeah, that's interesting. Certainly it's, I would, I guess, question the size of the business that's doing that. If they're solopreneurs, that doesn't surprise me because, and this is no reflection on any solopreneur, but again, they like to believe that they have to control every area of their business and they have to know it all and they have to therefore do it, and then eventually they might release it. Right. This is it's because they don't understand. Yeah. There's not a confidence or a trust that comes with that. And often if we don't know and we don't understand, we don't trust enough to give it away until we do. It's human nature.
Yeah, that's a good point. Excellent.
Yeah. So my question always would be back to the owner. Well, how will you know that you trust that company? What results do you will give you the confidence that they're the experts? Mm-hmm. So part of the planning is always due diligence, and right, is to say, well, I want to look at a company that, what is my criteria? It's like a criteria for hiring your people. So what criteria do you want in a company that would help you to trust to give this task away?
Once you have migrated into the micro business, you've started to develop a team. At that point, you should be pretty knowledgeable on what you should be expecting with marketing or any kind of results, correct? Yeah.
Well, it's important to go, again, going back to finances. Tracking of numbers, it means, if, for example, in your marketing area, if you have a budget for your marketing, you know exactly where things are being spent, on what products, what time of the year. Maybe your seasonal marketing kicks in, for November, December, if you're a retailer. You can compare the cost against the results. And that tells you that things are working effectively. Yeah. And we go back to that reactive place, but it's also post-seasonal. Mm-hmm. So if you have a business, segueing back to the types of clients here that are just even sometimes early stage, but look at the seasons in your business, look at your marketing efforts, and spend time planning and work with the expert to say, okay, what are our core messages for those seasonal message that we need to get out there, and make sure you assess it after the season is over.
Yeah, so there's that planning again. You don't just throw money or throw spaghetti on a wall and hope something sticks. You are wasting your money if you do that. If you're not doing the proper due diligence and planning and strategizing. Yeah.
And budgeting.
Budgeting.
I keep hammering the numbers today, but the truth is in your numbers.
Yeah. Well, and that's so true. There's at the end of the day, if your numbers are constantly showing negatives, your business is on a downfall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why are you staying in business? So, finances, human resources, marketing planning, and making those decisions based upon on getting the experts involved. And, really, if you're marketing and you're questioning your efforts, it's time. It's time to hire someone.
Yeah.
Because again, I go back to that. What do you want to earn an hour as an owner? Or what what wages can you pay somebody else or contract out?
Yeah.
And it will pay back, I guarantee it.
You can't be an expert in everything. So get rid of the stuff that is not your core competency and hand it over to somebody who excels at that, who is passionate about that. And I often say, lots of times people will think, oh, I'll just hire a VA and they'll do this and this and this and this. Like they'll do the social media marketing and they'll build the website and they'll do the bookkeeping, like a VA will do it all. And I go, well, okay, that is a lower budget option. But think about it in this way. Would you hire a bookkeeper to do your corporate taxes?
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference in skill set. If that VA was that skilled in all of those different areas, they wouldn't be calling themselves a VA. So hire the right people and not the ones who think they know that they can help you, but can really do help.
Yes, very, very true. Well, I go back to the job description.
Right.
And this is part of your human resources. It's every company should have a human resources department, whether or not you're one person or whether you're 100 people. Departmentalizing your company can really support the planning phase. So if you departmentalize your human resources, for example, you create that job description for you, and then it gives you a clear picture of what skills or expertise you need that could be 3 or 4 people.
Yeah.
Rather than look for one person to become you, really is what you're asking. If you're hiring a VA, you're asking someone to be you.
Yeah.
When that's not the case. You need the company. Let's remove you, the president, and say the company needs, in order to grow, these skills.
Yeah.
Then you start to look at the human being and what that role looks like.
So do you find that like when you go in and do assessments with new clients who are in that growth phase, or they want to grow, but they're struggling for whatever reason, but they do have employees on staff, do you find that is a common occurrence where they've either hired the wrong people or the people that they do have on staff aren't clear on what their role is?
All of the above. All of the above. It's often there can be no structure to the hiring process, for example. So they haven't done their due diligence on the individual sometimes that's come in, or the individual's not working with a clear job description.
Yeah.
And often that individual has tasks or responsibilities that are really not their area of expertise, that should be extrapolated and given to another person. Also, the job descriptions are not designed with outcomes in place. And by that, I mean every line in a person's job description should have a clear outcome of what you want that task to look like. So, for example, if there's a report due every Friday at noon by that individual, that's an outcome that you can measure and track.
Yeah.
So job descriptions with clear performance outcomes are vital. And so if there's confusion in the ranks, that's often the case, is that they don't have the right person, or the right person is doing the wrong tasks. And then they're not being held accountable to those tasks. And then we come then into a performance review. And performance reviews, historically, we hear this once a year. Everybody gets, a performance review, 360. Everybody tells you how lovely you are or how much they hate you. Whatever. I'm being facetious. But performance reviews should be done frequently and held to tasks and outcomes.
Yeah. I agree.
And, and so if you're doing that and you're saying, hey, you're fabulous, I just love what you're doing, that's a performance review.
Yeah, I try to do that on an ongoing basis, constantly giving feedback, whether positive or negative, so that they know where they stand at any given point.
Yes.
If I wait 6 months from now about something that they did, today, the point is moot.
Beautiful. Yeah. That's so good that you're doing that, Susan. And it's true. We, if you come wait a year, well, you're going to go, hang on, why didn't you talk to me at that time?
Yeah.
You're not doing anyone any favors. I mean, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a yearly performance review. And if a company does, for example, a bonus on the company's year end, and if the company's made money and you're giving a bonus based upon everyone's contribution, year-end performance reviews are great because they do catch people at the end of the year saying, hey, we've had a great year and thank you.
Right.
So there should be a blend of both as you bring people in.
Yeah.
I'd also like to just add here too that if you have contractors, also performance reviews are important. From the perspective, and I know you're a contractor, right, to many companies. Isn't it nice to know where you're tracking and where you're not?
Yeah.
So you can respond a little earlier, or you can support the client, as things arise.
I can't think offhand if any of our clients have ever given me a performance review other than, if they're unhappy with
right.
all of a sudden they're gone. Okay, there's your performance review. You're fired.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Which is disappointing.
It's very disappointing because
yes.
if I don't know that I'm underperforming or not meeting whatever goal that wasn't discussed to begin with, then how am I supposed to course correct and modify?
Yes. Yeah. So it's a great question from a planning perspective, is to say, how can we work with our clients? If you are a contractor, even myself, I have a performance piece that I love to work with on my clients, because I say to them, we need to know here how we're tracking. Where the levels of satisfaction are right now. How can we improve some of our service to you? Fantastic. And they appreciate that. Initiating some of those conversations helps you to be proactive. And then all of a sudden, then one day you find out they're annoyed at you, like you say, and they leave, So it tells your customers that you care.
I love that. That's exactly it. I mean, a customer at the end of the day will be loyal as long as they know that they've been heard and that you care about them.
Yes.
And so by creating those conversations, instead of just waiting for the feedback, create the situation that creates that conversation. I love that. Thank you for that tip, Pamela.
You're very welcome. And that certainly is part of your planning, for this next year, is to perhaps look at your customer service areas and say, okay, well, what have we been doing historically? And what could we do to improve upon those areas? And, and how can we wow them with, whatever this year? So again, a planning piece for the year. And then it'll get you excited too, because you've got something new to sink your teeth into. It's like, oh goodness, we've got a whole new customer service plan.
Yeah, I love it. That's so true. I mean, nothing invigorates me more and gets me more excited than knowing I'm making a difference with a client.
Yes.
And that's my purpose for being here, is to help other businesses grow and expand. Yeah. And so, that whole piece of customer service is a huge part of our, of our brand positioning.
Excellent.
And as soon as we slip and drop the ball, the ramifications can be pretty severe.
Well, one of the core competencies of the most successful companies in our world, one of the areas that is huge, is innovation. And it's an area that we forget about as business owners, is to include innovation in our planning as much as we can. And innovation is not necessarily, we immediately think creativity, but innovation is an area that allows us to grow as a company, that allows us to stand out, allows us to do things differently. So I encourage in planning thinking about innovation as how can we continuously be addressing it. And that, can be just something so simple as, we have a suggestion box, or we call our customers, or we send out a survey once a month and say, tell us what we can be doing. I mean, there's ways to be innovative.
Right.
But in planning, innovation creates excitement, which creates passion, which creates the reason to get out of bed every day.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And thank you for that clarification, because many people will automatically think of innovation as being creating something new, creating a new product, creating a new program. And that's not what you're meaning here. You're thinking about innovation to help build the business at its core.
Yes.
Building that foundation. I love that.
Yeah. And being open to innovation and knowing, also getting a handle on your competition of what innovations they're continuously building in.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know what they're doing in their marketing and, for example, their customer service or the way their sales go, you may be missing some really cool ideas as well.
One thing that I do when I talk to clients is to observe and research your competition, not with the intention of copying what they're doing, but assessing what they're doing and finding out where they are lacking so that you can offset that, and that's what rises you above that competition. Find ways to separate yourself from them and showcase your USP above those competitors. And
that's very sound advice. And there is nothing new and unique in this world. I mean, everybody is reinventing the wheel in some way, shape, or form. It's I can't believe that there's anything new. When we've been all doing business for so long. But I think it's important, and the idea of SWOTing, as they used to call it, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Right, that was a basic of business planning and marketing planning. Being able to look at your own strengths, your own company's strengths, and also the ownership from that place of, okay, where aren't we great? And what is the competition doing? An opportunity. Maybe they don't want to do something that we know we can be good at. What is that, as you said, core competency or USP?
So going back to Marie Kondo's organizing book, do you have any last tips and strategies to share about, our conversation that we've been having today about the planning and organizing and decluttering and all that fun stuff?
Yeah, I think that there's a couple of things she does say that is really important, and that is the decluttering area. And this is the year end is also in January, but year end often falls differently for everybody. Is the time of the year to declutter your files, to go in and and hire somebody. You can get some kids to help you, but go through your files, get everything cleaned out, work with 2019, and put your backup in place in a safe place where you have all those files, because if you ever need them for certain organizations, you've got all of that. And then, of course, you only have to go back, keep 7 years. So if you're on an 8th year, get rid of that. Find, get your back of house filing systems in order, for example, so that things are at your fingertips. That makes total sense to me. Clean it out, clean it to a place where everything is accessible should you need it, and get rid of what you don't.
I think that's fantastic advice. I just want to say one quick thing about the decluttering is because many people don't realize it, but if you are sitting in a cluttered space, energetically, it weighs you down. We're not consciously aware of it, but I know what happens to me when I've allowed my desk to get to that point where, okay, this is a mess, right? And then I'll take the time, clean it up, get everything organized. And it's amazing how different you feel. And now it's like doors have just opened up wide, and you energetically feel so much freer and available to focus on your business.
Yes. Well, and it also demonstrates efficiency. You know, if you are running a disorganized business, or if you don't have a handle on a particular file when you need it, that's how you're leading your ship.
Yeah.
And if you're bringing employees in or contractors in, and they're seeing that that's the way you're working, it's like being a parent.
Yeah.
You're modeling the behavior for your organization. And if your value system is, you know, that demonstrates honesty and transparency, you can't be honest and transparent if you don't have information that you can readily get to. If your files aren't being managed appropriately and you don't have the information when it's asked for, it's a reflection back on your company.
Right.
So, you know, when I look at Maria's organizing of a drawer where she has a certain way of folding all these clothes, and they're all on their side and they're all color coordinated, and you can see right away what every color is. I thought to myself, when I saw that video, I thought, wow, that's the same way a filing cabinet can be set up. You know, if you go into your doctor's office and you see all the files and they're color coded and everything's all tidy and neat, you know that he has or she has your information as soon as you need it.
And that instills a lot of confidence, right?
Yes.
Yeah. If you saw nothing but chaos, would you really want to be working with that doctor? And with anybody that, you know, any client that observes you in your space,
yes,
you know, that how you come across to them is so important at that subconscious level. They might not be consciously thinking that, oh, you know, but
it's a first impression, and it's a strong impression. Yeah. I recall many years ago an individual who worked with a lot of cases, we'll put it like that, and had a number of clients on the go, very complex situations. But when you walked into their office, it was there was 50 piles, literally piles on the floor everywhere, and that was their own personal system, you know, for the way that they worked. But it didn't help the employees any, because they had no idea where things were. Right. They only knew it was in this pile that was, you know, 3 feet high, if they had to find anything. And so it became quite chaotic and very, very difficult for them to do their jobs properly. And the organization went through a lot of people, because people need clear boundaries. They need to be they need efficiencies. And it goes back to why we want to declutter and set it up. If you're going to hire or bring in someone who can support your services, you need to be organized so you can train them to be organized. Yeah, perfect. That's such a valid point. I would suggest someone start looking at their office and just start to say, okay, first of all, do I need to declutter my office and get organized in my filing systems, get my office cleaned out for 2019 before I start to plan what I need to plan for this year? I love that. You know, start with what is manageable, what you know you can do. Get your space, your workspace tidied and uncluttered, and then go to the next step. Now you're energetically in that position to go to that next step of that planning. Yeah. And then, of course, when they're at that place, call you to help. Happy to help. Happy to help. And then I'll turn them over to you for the marketing plan. So there you go. We'll work as a team. What a team. I love it. I love it. So speaking of calling you, how can people get a hold of you? Do you have a website we can send people to check you out and find out more about you? Yes, PamelaChatry.com. It's very simple. And Chatry is Chatry. So yes, and there's good information on there, and some of my clients are talking about some of the work we've done, and there's some regular blogging as well. Pamela is one of our regular blog authors, our guest authors, and there's tons of articles in there. In fact, I know that there's one article about innovation that you can read more about. And so do visit our blog and click on Pamela's name, and you can find a wealth of fantastic
tips and strategies on how to build and grow your business for 2019.
Yeah, and can I just throw a final thought in here too? It's very hard for owners to often plan when they're in the midst of doing the business and operating the business. And I would like to encourage every owner to book a 2-day retreat, take themselves away, and put themselves in a, whether you're near Whistler or wherever you're located in this world, look at somewhere where you can go for 2 days of quiet time. And I'm giving you permission to go away and take that time and plan 2019. It will never be on your radar in the way that it needs to be if you're still continuing to work in your business.
That is perfect advice, and you will be happy to know that I have done that many, many times.
Love it. Love it.
Because the day-to-day responsiveness of, what's going on, I can't shut off.
Yes.
And so I have done that many times. We have one of our clients owns a B&B in Agassiz, Blackberry Lane Bed and Breakfast, for those of you. Fantastic. It's a nice little secluded place on a farm in the middle of Agassiz.
Perfect.
And it's quiet. And I remember one time I came with literally a suitcase of books and 3-ring binders of information, and half of my bed was
I love it.
with all of this stuff, and I gave myself a little space to sleep on.
Where's Susan?
And I remember Marlene walking in and going, "Oh, holy cow!" She wasn't used to people coming to her B&B to actually work. But it was perfect. It was an excellent opportunity for me to do that planning and that strategizing that I need.
And so it was productive, I'm assuming.
Very, very productive.
Right. Yeah. And if you don't know where to start, just grab this. You can reach out to me. I've got some great books that I would recommend that could be resources if you were going to take yourself away for a couple of days. So, please, viewers, reach out to me and I'll send along that information to you. And because they can help guide you. You could have guided planning as a resource. And it's so worth it, as you say.
Awesome. And I think that is a perfect final statement to make to wrap up our conversation today. Pamela, thank you so much. I know that I have certainly got a lot out of this conversation, and I know that a lot of the people watching this video, you've inspired them, and they are eager now to go and declutter their lives and declutter their business, plan, get organized, and watch their business soar for the year. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today.
I have had so much fun, Susan. It's just such a pleasure to have this, planning conversation back and forth with an expert such as yourself, with marketing like this, and in the business piece. And you're doing so much right in your own business, but I know your clients benefit from all of your knowledge and expertise as well. And so, thanks for the invitation today. It's been such a pleasure to be here, and certainly I look forward to hearing of tons of success this year for so many people. I think, as I said earlier, it's going to be a great year for all of us.
Fantastic. Yes. And if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook or on our blog, leave us a comment. Please let us know what you got out of this conversation and what your struggles are. Is there anything that Pamela can help you with, or is there anything I can help you with? One of the things that I love about being a female entrepreneur is that we instinctually want to help other entrepreneurs. Like, it's in our DNA. And so that's what we're here for. That's why we created a business. I'm sure that's why you created your business, Pamela, was to be of service, was to help other people so that they weren't going to struggle anymore.
Yes.
And so take advantage of that. Take advantage of what those opportunities are in front of you. All right. So I'm going to sign off now. Thank you so much, Pamela. Thank you so much for joining us and watching this interview. If you have any questions at all, comments, anything at all, leave it in the comment section. Go and visit Pamela's website. I'll have the link for that down below, and check out what she can do to help you with your business so that you can make more money in your business this year by organizing, planning, executing, and all that fun stuff.
Great.
All right. Bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.